I'm just supposed to.
No, I don't know. We're supposed to do something.
Yeah, you're supposed to do something.
Oh yeah, so I mean, give us some tips. We want some tips from the great Sarah Sheppard.
Actually, we need an introduction first, though.
Yeah, you probably need to introduce
Why
me.
should we listen to her?
Shoot.
Who is she?
Oh, we didn't do all that at the table. We didn't really even get you to.
No.
Yeah. Oh, so.
I wouldn't listen to me.
Welcome to the Storiers.
Welcome. We're back. Yes, nice head nod. Nobody nods their head quite like Stephen Cato. He's the master head nodder.
So we got some great writing tips for you today.
Yes. From a very wise woman.
Who we're not going to introduce because we're terrible people.
So, roll the tape!
Who am I? Writer, freelancer, editor, teacher. Used to be a senior rights manager in publishing. What else do you want to know about me? So I write for a marketing agency for different blogs. I write about women's issues, women in business, women careers, and human trafficking. And I write fiction, so I write short stories.
So you teach writing?
I teach writing.
Which means if anyone should have some writing tips.
Yes. Journal. That's my number one thing. Always journal. I read some advice, which I love. Write every single day for an hour. But if you can't focus on whatever you're working on, so if I'm working on a novel and I can't seem to work on it, journal instead.
Why?
Because then you're always writing. It's a good way to keep going.
Also, a writer's block tip.
Yes.
That helps kind of break through some of the stagnation, get the ball rolling, so then you can transfer that into your novel, nonfiction, whatever.
Absolutely. And I think it establishes a habit. If you're a writer, it's hard to keep writing if you don't have a habit, right?
I've been working on that.
It's hard. I think it's hard for everyone. Number two, setting. Always know your setting. So I think the problem with when people are writing, they don't set it somewhere, and I think place can be its own character.
I agree with that.
I think it's important. And it tells you if you're from that place, if you're not, it paints a picture that sometimes you forget to paint. So I think place is very important.
So when do you see somebody they just don't talk about the surroundings, or what does that mean?
Yeah, I think some people write a story and you're like, okay, well, are we in Chicago or are we in
like
Minnesota?
In a generic city.
Yeah, and we're in a generic place, and they're like, well, I don't know. And I go, well, if you don't know, I don't know, right? So as a reader, I want to know kind of where I am. And even if it's a made-up place, it has its own cultural world, so you kind of have to...
Is Mark the writer?
Setting in books, how important is it?
Setting is very, very important. I feel like setting is important.
I agree.
I agree.
See, setting. He knows what's up.
Mark knows.
He knows.
Man, setting his character is actually something I don't think a lot of writers get, especially fiction writers.
Setting his character?
Setting his character.
I think so, too.
Yeah, it brings a lot out. That's why, again, back to research. You know,
Yeah.
so that's why it's important to kind of research your whole book. Like, if you're going to write something in Minnesota, research things that are specific
I think
to
so.
Minnesota.
I think, too, on top of that, even like setting within a scene, right? So if I'm in a kitchen, I want to be in a kitchen, right?
Yep.
I want to know that there's a utensil here or this here. You want to feel like you're...
What's the balance between imagination and description? In the reader. So the imagination in the reader and your description as the writer. Setting is one of those things that's... You kind of got to walk a line. If you over-describe, then you leave nothing to the imagination. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can be too
I agree,
over-descriptive.
because if you're writing it and you're getting bored with your own setting, then you probably should stop writing about setting. So when I'm creating a setting, sometimes I will Google a place and I'll look it up, and then I will use that as my starting, and then I'll go from there. I'll put the characters in, I'll put the different elements into it, but sometimes I actually take maybe a coffee shop or whatever it is from reality that I've never been to and create my version of it.
Yeah, that's actually the brilliance of like modern day. Like actually things are easier
crazy
for writers than ever.
Yeah.
Because like if you wanted to do that in the 50s,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's
Yeah.
no like I can just go.
You'd
on
be at the
internet and go
library
there.
trying
Yeah, you
to-
know what I'm saying? Like I can't just go to Google and drive
Right.
along the freeway. You know what
But
I'm
do you
saying?
argue that it's almost harder because now
Too much information.
it's too much?
That's that's
Right?
the unique problem. It is because I get lost in research.
Me too. I could
know,
sit there
so-
and I'm like, oh, there's plants here and there's this there, and then I'm like, I can just imagine this. Why do I have to? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, we need a third.
We'll always need 3 tips.
And we're
coming.
gonna
3
need
tips. Okay, so here's my tip with dialogue. Let me think of my tip.
Was it there and you lost it, or is it just?
No. So I have a
Are you
lot of
freestyling?
thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts on dialogue. So one of my biggest tips on dialogue is, I guess I'll give an example. Can I give an example? Would that help?
You are allowed to do
And
whatever
then you can tell me
want.
what the tip is.
It's like a game. I like that.
Yeah, it
I
is
like
a
this.
game.
See?
We need some music.
Trying to-
right here.
yeah.
Let's get some game music. Right.
Well, okay, so if a character walks into a room, right, and they greet the other character and they say, hey, and the other person says, hey, what have we learned?
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
So you don't need both.
Yeah, so you don't need that. That's not good
Wait a
dialogue.
sec. The game started already?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not playing.
I
Oh,
lost.
yeah.
I lost.
Dialogue is my favorite
Did I
thing
just
about
lose?
writing. So, yeah. Oh yeah, you did.
You're out.
This guy's not. He's
He's
faring
out.
well
You can't do
today.
dialogue.
Jenga,
No dialogue.
you're out of the interview.
Just gonna
Dialogue,
put up
yeah.
a wall
Dang.
here.
Rough night.
Yeah, correct. Winner.
Winner.
So instead, you could write, they greeted each other, right? So you know that they greeted each other, but there was nothing interesting. Now, if a character walks in a room and they say, hey, how are you? And I turn away, is that helpful? What do we learn?
You have attitude. It's definitely helpful because you're showing something action with the character.
There's something going on,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Why am I ignoring that person? You have questions.
I feel like this is
Right?
This is like so. You're actually looking at him when you're talking, which I feel like is unfair.
Yeah, I was like,
in the
you
game.
already lost the game.
No excuse.
I already
You're not
lost.
even in the game.
I assumed after the first one
So
you were
this is
out.
the bonus round. I'm not even here.
So what did you learn from that? What's your question? Number 3. If it doesn't move your story, it doesn't need to be there.
That's great advice. That's
Yeah.
great advice.
So there you have it. Wise words from Miss Sarah Sheppard. 3 tips: journaling, setting, and dialogue.
Journaling actually was the one that surprised me the most. This is the one I just don't hear people talk about as a writing tip. I really appreciate it. It made a whole lot of sense to me. Like as she explained it, I was like, yeah, that I could really see how, especially if you get stuck. I thought it was great.
Even if it wasn't journaling, I think I like all her tips. Like setting, I definitely think people tend to overlook setting, and I just don't know why. You know, the kind of stuff I write tends to be a little bit wilder, so I have to take setting into consideration. Like I couldn't even tell the story without it. You know, there's a big difference in telling a story in New York than telling a story in Detroit. And if you don't take those things into consideration, I think it will add kind of a, generic quality to what you're doing. You want specificity. I mean, not over specificity, but you don't want to be
Walk the line.
Walk the
balance.
Yeah, walk the line. Who's that? Who sang that song?
Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash. We gotta play that music right there. Put Johnny Cash in right there. That's my Johnny Cash.
The third one was dialogue. She actually cheats on dialogue, and we can talk about that in another video.
Oh, that's what you're saying. No, that's not cheating. That's a great writer's technique.
No, it's a great technique, but it's still cheating. I do too. No, it's great. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I love it. Like I actually do that too. I do this. I told you. Like
I do like that she addressed the redundancy factor. So hey, I've read a lot of things where that actually slows writing to a halt. It's like, what is the purpose?
It's
of this?
great, especially when you're, you think about trying to say things as succinctly as possible. So, I mean, just thinking about that, that's a wasted conversation. You don't need to say that. Just say they greeted each other. Boom, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, thank you, sir, once again.
Yes,
And,
yes, we had a great time.
I will say this though, that the other game we played, the little the dialogue game, I think that was rigged.
You think that was real?
I didn't even know we had started.
You got to be ready. Me and Sarah ready at the drop of a dime, no matter
Pretty
what.
sure you
When it's
had a
game time.
conversation. I went to use the bathroom at some point, and you're like, "Hey, we're gonna do this dialogue game." I had a rough night.
It's alright. You'll bounce back next time. We'll have to play hockey or something. You'll definitely win that one.
Comment. We want to hear what are your thoughts?
Yeah. And do you have maybe any tricks that you put into it when you do dialogue?
Dialogue
I'm curious.
settings.
Like, subscribe. People won't know how much you care until they see how much you care.
We're the new Storiers.
Peace out.
Peace out.
Peace out.
Peace out.
I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. I keep my eyes wide open all the time. I keep the ends out for the tie that binds. Because you're mine, I walk the line.